Pusha T. Yay. Dreaming of the past. Welcome back to another episode of Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Thanks, WBAI, once again for your also great technology. It's really killing it out here. Just stop.
Oh, it just cut off?
It just cut off, dog. It just cut off. I know what I'm gonna have to do, so I'm just gonna do it and not say anything, but it's all good, man. This is Trinidadi, Panamanian Poppy, Rude Boy, Top Gunner, Sakpanya Mada, Giovanni Anglin.
Yo, what's going on? It's Bashtin. This is recording live from LA. Gio is in Brooklyn. What's going on, folks?
What's going on, Bashtin, is this album came from the album of the year, according to what Pusha T says. It's Almost Dry. And you know what? He might be onto something because it is dry outside. Well, not almost. It is dry outside. We've been having this damn heat wave for the past couple days, man. From the West Coast to down south to up here in the Northeast, it is disgusting.
Also in Europe, if you've seen people record themselves over there just exhausted from the heat because they don't get that much. And also the houses are designed to retain heat because it's mostly cold out there.
Yeah.
So it's like a painful experience.
I know. I have a friend over in London, and she's going through it right now because normally London isn't that hot.
Yeah, they don't really have ACs. So it's going to be interesting.
ACs aren't a thing in Europe?
No, in London particularly.
Oh, in London.
Of course in like if you go to Italy, you're like, of course they'll have it. But in London, where all these heat waves is affecting them very, very badly. Like I said, the houses just aren't designed for it, so they don't have the technology or even maybe the fits to survive this heat wave. Unlike New York, where we have a fit for any type of weather, because you never know when it's going to be 70 degrees in December.
I will say though, Bashtin, these new breed of children they're a different breed, Bashtin, because I'm seeing people out here wearing sweats, hoodies, black hoodies, everything in this hot ass weather. I don't know what's going on with them. Maybe they got the blower on them. Maybe they're just depressed, but it is very concerning that I don't see them sweat bullets.
I could get by with like the sweatpants, but
no, the full hoodie as well.
Well, the thing is, sometimes too hot isn't the same compared to everybody else. Like I rocked crew necks through the summer, but not like the heavy crew necks. Like pretty much today's fashion sense, the low quality crew necks. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people come up to me like, "You're not sweating in this thing." It's like, have you like felt the quality? It's not as heavy as it looks. So that's the thing about these hoodies. They're probably not as heavy as it looks.
Huh. I don't know, man. These are things that you would wear during the summertime. It's summer. I'm sorry. It's the stuff that you would wear during fall time. It's more of the fall men thirst trap, where, you know, men go out with the gray sweatpants and all that. That's the type of stuff that they're wearing, and I'm seeing on the train. And Bashtin is wearing black right now. You're making me hot.
This is actually a navy blue. It's just the camera makes it a little bit dark.
Oh, okay.
Lighting.
Excuse me.
But I'm going to speak for the people wearing the extra layers, because one thing is, the quality of the clothes isn't as heavy as you think it is. So maybe the shirt under it is a very, very light texture compared to the hoodie too. Because sometimes we rock that hoodie for the fall, but it's still cold, so we wear like a light jacket on top of that. So you got the jacket hoodie combo, and that's something I rocked a lot in 2013, 2014 when you met me in college. Mm-hmm. And it's because I couldn't afford those nice $150 hoodies until later. Now I could just rock just a hoodie. Mm. So you rocking those 35 cheap hoodies with the jacket. So now it's the summertime, you're rocking the hoodie, and you're not sweating. It's not hot. You're not sweating because of the fabric. So I'm just letting you know. Also, people go to work where the AC's on 24/7, and it's freezing cold at work sometimes.
That is true, and that is honestly a good problem to have, because the humidity level here has been awful. It's been offensive. That's how bad it's been. When you have the governor of New York saying, "Hey, make sure that you don't go outside that often. Make sure you stay indoors." That's how you know it's awful outside.
You know what? I think the governor's right, because New Yorkers, as myself, when I was in New York, we don't drink that much water, really, right? We don't drink water. We don't get heat exhaustion.
We drink coffee.
You know, exactly. The coffee adds on to that. But sometimes we don't go outside. But when we do, like, oh wow, it's hot. Let's get a bottle of water real quick. But what happens if you're home all day? What happens if you don't have the AC? What happens if you're just like outside and stuff? You might not get that water. So it might hit you a lot faster compared to like a 88-degree weather compared to like just the humidity. What was it, over 90?
Yeah, it's over 90. And it's going to be like that again tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day.
I do think there is a plus side being in New York where we have so many corner stores.
Yes.
In terms of if you need water, you could get something immediately. But sometimes you're just not thinking about that. And like I said, as a New Yorker, New Yorkers don't really drink water. What do they drink? Juice, Arizona's.
New York runs on Dunkin'
Donuts, a lot of coffee, like a lot of iced coffee.
A lot of coffee.
That's not going to help you. It's going to hit you even harder.
I'm going to put y'all on to something, man. This is what y'all drink during this type of weather. I like a good iced mocha with oat milk because it's basically chocolate milk with espresso in there. So it's like a nice little treat and it's refreshing. It's delicious.
I still think it's dangerous. I think
it is dangerous.
Water is really, really important. As someone that barely drinks water too. Like my first week in LA, I feel like I had heat exhaustion every single day. But now my body is used to it where I could consume maybe the same amount of water as I did in New York. But I still need to drink water throughout the day because I'll just get lightheaded out of nowhere. So, all right, let me drink like this 8 ounce, then boom, I'm good. Before it will affect me the entire day.
But also, when you drink caffeine, Bashtin, I don't think people realize this, but caffeine actually dehydrates you. So it is imperative, and that's why you see a lot of people that get coffee will also get a cup of water with them as well. And also, a lot of caffeinated teas, they do dehydrate you as well. So it is very imperative, as Bashtin is saying, to drink water.
I don't believe that people are that smart to walk around with a second bottle.
Oh, what?
You go to Starbucks?
I do that all the time. What? Look at it. Look at this big ass thing of Poland Spring, man.
All right, you're talking about yourself. I understand that. But when
look
you're
at my
a barista,
skin. My skin is impetuous right now. I juice. You know?
But that's you. That's you. I get what you're doing. I understand your lifestyle, king. But when you're a barista and someone asks for a coffee, do they always ask for a glass of water on the side?
If it's to stay, yes. If it's to go, no.
All right. Everybody lives this kind of to-go lifestyle anyways in New York. So I don't believe, and that's why I understand what the governor says. Like, don't go outside because you just wouldn't know how to handle it. Stay home. So if it gets hot, you have your ice water right there. Sometimes I'll just take the heat. Then you're in the AC. Then, you go to the subway in the AC and you just faint.
I will fight back with you on that point really quick with the coffee shop stuff because nowadays, Bashtin, as you know, hybrid working is now a thing, and a lot of people would work and do work at the cafes.
That's different. They're there all day. I'm talking about picking up and going. Okay,
that's different. But majority of the people now, instead of working at home, they probably like go screw off in a cafe and get some water with their coffee.
I gotta do that one of these days. There's so many Starbucks around me.
It's fun.
But it's going to be interesting when Starbucks starts shutting down most of their stores.
Are they?
I think I spoke about it a couple of episodes ago where I do not remember. Shut down 16 stores and they're planning to shut down more.
Really?
And there's like 4. So a weird thing about LA, and there's this in New York too. Like if you go to Uniqlo, there's like a Starbucks inside, but you only see that in the city.
Yeah.
Here in LA, it's like there's a Rouse and a Vons, and they both have like a Starbucks inside the store, and on the same shopping center there's a Starbucks there too. And then the other side is a Starbucks, and on another side of town, like a road, is Starbucks. So I live next to 5 different Starbucks, all in walking distance of like maybe 10 minutes from my house.
Instead of bodegas, you have Starbucks.
You have Starbucks. And I do think that's ridiculous. But they did close down one recently because I was walking by. I've never been in that particular one because it is a bit far. But it's on the same block where I get my boba tea. And when I passed by, they said, hey, sorry, we are closed and we're not going to open. And that was the day. The day the sign was there was the day they closed. So I was like, oh, okay, this is crazy. But I can only imagine if you're working there, they just throw you to the other 4 Starbucks or maybe 6 Starbucks around the corner.
Yeah. That's interesting, Bashtin, because I've actually never seen a Starbucks close down. For as long as I've been here in New York and for as long as I've seen the rise of Starbucks, I've actually never seen a Starbucks close down.
I could give you one situation. If you here in Jamaica Avenue, the Starbucks there outside of the school of York College was shut down. They closed that one down.
You mean the one that was in York?
Outside of York.
Right on the Ave.
Yeah.
I think that was actually, when did they open that Starbucks up? Was that when we were still in college?
2017, 2016, if anything.
All right, so that was after my time because I graduated.
Yeah, so they opened it, and when I passed by maybe a year ago, they closed it. So that lasted maybe 4 years. So they do close and shut down Starbucks, and I'm perfectly fine with them shutting down Starbucks. It doesn't affect me. I do believe they need to branch out and unionize more Starbucks. So if you're out there working at Starbucks, fight for that union. But at the same time, it's like there's other coffee shops that could, pick up the pace.
Of course,
you built the area, you built the chairs, you already have the spacing to put your espresso machine. Get La Mazzaro?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what La Mazzarco.
Mazzarco. Get a real espresso machine. Of course, it costs you 10 G's.
That's top of the line right there.
But your coffee will be coming out fresh and nicely pressurized. So I'm perfectly fine with it. And just going back to our conversation, just talking about that's where people work. We live in a hybrid era right now. Or hopefully we could stay in a hybrid era where people just want to work in a cool place like Starbucks.
There has been a big pushback of trying to get people back in the office. I'm seeing that a lot more lately because I'm looking for some jobs on LinkedIn, and I'm seeing a lot more requirements to be in the office. Another thing that I am seeing now that has been passed here in New York, where the employer has to put down the salary. They have to now. So thank you for that, New York, for passing that bill, because, geez, I hate having to maneuver, asking in a professional way, what's the budget for this position so I can get paid properly.
It is interesting, and I do think it's illegal, and I think it's good to have leverage like that, especially in New York, where the rent is up.
Everything is up here.
Yeah, the average of the rent for the month of June was $5,000 in New York City. Mm-hmm. I don't think it counts Queens and Brooklyn.
No, we're not counting that.
But it was averaged to $5,000. So to leverage showing how much the salary is going to be or the hourly wage is very important.
Right. But along with that, remember when I showed you the Wall Street Journal inflation?
Yeah. You want to speak on it?
Yeah, I do want to speak on it because this has been one of the biggest inflations that we have seen in America since the past 40 years. This has been the biggest one, and I'm surprised to see some of the rises that we are getting from, and stuff like chicken's gone up 16%. Chicken, out of all things, chicken, the dirtiest of meats out there, chicken. After all that we have done for you, chicken, black people, we have held you down for centuries, chicken. You want to go up 16%? Apples, baby food, of course, utilities, that's gone up. Gas is finally starting to go down a little bit here in New York. I don't know how it is over with you in LA.
It follows. It's the state. It's a countrywide.
Okay, good.
But to speak on the idea of inflation, I reading a lot of articles, especially listening to other podcasts, especially on the left side, it's very easy to understand that it's not inflation the same way that we speak of inflation, what happened to Russia after USSR split.
Yeah.
In terms of how the value of the dollar just depleted, hence the value of the dollar is less, hence everything costs more. That's not the inflation that's happening in America. It's more of a companies raising the price, and it trickles down and affects other industries. Yeah. And I do remember watching someone on TikTok that takes care of, I think, cows, I think, and just explaining how the price of the food to feed these animals are going up, and it's going to affect everybody soon, like in the cycle. So as you say in that article, everything is going to go up soon, where, you know, you could buy a price of, you know, something I recently bought was wings, party wings, where it's already cut for you. I can only imagine, I think I bought it for like $10 for 15 pieces, and could go up to maybe, you know, $15 or $18.
Yeah. And so, chicken is always one of the cheapest things you can buy. Like, I know if you go to a normal Key Food or C-Town, you could get drums for like $2. That's how cheap it used to be.
I wouldn't buy that. That sounds...
But you get my point. There's people that are struggling, Bashtin. $2 for drumsticks, you can make some nice things.
Though?
That doesn't mean anything, Bashtin. I told you that. No, it doesn't.
That's how I buy chicken. I'm not going to front. I never buy that chicken. I would never buy that chicken. I'm telling you,
cage-free doesn't mean anything, Bashtin. I told you about this on what Morgan Spurlock freaking documented us with the chicken crisis.
No, I understand how that works, but there's levels to it. So if you shop at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, they have to align to those things. But if you shop at your local C-Town, no, that means nothing. So I'm just letting you know. I know how it works. I know how it works.
Okay.
Like I said, I was raised vegetarian for a long time. I know I see everything.
Are you thinking about going back vegetarian after you see the inflation for beefsteaks and all that?
It's not it's not going back. It's just increasing how much vegetarian meals I eat. Because I don't truly believe going full vegetarian. Again, I could probably eat like red meats, chicken, and fish. Probably increase the fish. How much fish I eat as
you
I
get rid
older.
of pork?
I don't eat pork like that.
Okay, see, look at you.
I've never cooked pork.
Salam alaikum.
Like someone didn't get bacon.
Right.
But
that's still pork, though. No,
it's American breakfast.
It's
that's
still
the American
pork,
breakfast.
though, Bashtin. Come on, don't be one of those.
No, hey, it doesn't count the same because that is the American breakfast. Once if they remove bacon from the American breakfast, no one eats bacon anymore. I mean, no one eats pork like that anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sausage, none of that stuff. That's all. A lot of it is pork.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, the only thing I eat is bacon. But other than that, just increasing how much vegetarian meals I go for, that's what I see myself doing. Essentially because I knew this was happening. It's going to happen. Like, it's going to hit us real hard real soon. And the whole thing is subsidies, right? At a certain point in time, is the government is going to create these subsidies for either us, the people, where, let's say they give everybody a different type of food stamp. Me and you, they're going to give us a subsidy where they give us maybe $100 a month to pay on food in order to balance out the increase in meats. That would be something some countries would do. Would America do it? I don't know. If it gets that bad,
I don't know. Come on, Bashtin, you know better.
If it gets that bad, the way people are talking about it, because you also have to look at how corporations are allowing these prices to be marked up high. The farmers get nothing. They have to now borrow more money from the bank in order to feed their cows, goats, and chickens. So it's like I said, it hits everything. Also, when you borrow money from the government while the Fed raises the interest rate, as my cousin was telling me, it's like everything is going to get affected hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot to think about. I don't know if anybody's stressed about that. I'm kind of stressed about this stuff, talking about it. Yeah,
I mean, it's important for us to bring it up because this is affecting our everyday lives. But hey, if you want to get some sort of electronics, that's going down in price, so you have nothing to worry about there. But the simple everyday thing, it's becoming a problem now. It's getting harder for us to just live regular lives with the essentials that we do need instead of the things that we want that are luxury.
Well, I guess the everyday electronics is in my opinion, I think we're overproduced. That's why the prices went down a little bit.
Absolutely.
And we're not in this, I gotta buy it, gotta have it now, that we felt during the pandemic, because that's how we feed our emotions. Our stress is to buy more things. Like, I recently bought one thing, the Stream Deck, because I always wanted to buy it, and then I think we're going to use it a lot more for the show. But that's about it. It's not really anything I want compared to in the beginning of the pandemic, where I was just buying small knickknacks for my desk.
But also, technology has gotten to a point where you don't need the latest model every year anymore. You can get by with a model for a good couple of years, and it will last you for a longer time.
I disagree with that. I do think it's probably the same as it's always been, because people want to believe or do believe in planned obsolescence. And something like the MacBook that I bought, and you brought too. We both own a M1 Pro.
Chip. Yes.
M1 chip. You own a Pro, I own a Max.
Yes.
And they recently came out with the M2. Of course, many may say that it was a bit rushed. That's why it's a bit glitchy. Mm-hmm. And most software technologies aren't prepared for it. Yeah, understandable.
I think they put that in the Apple Air one.
The Apple Air, yeah. Because they want to change the Air. They want the Air to compete the same as the Pro. Understandable, but at the same time, you have people like us that feel like suckers. We feel like suckers just a little bit. It's not better than the Pro. It's not better than the Max. But we do feel like suckers knowing that around the corner, the M2 Pro and the M2 Max will come out.
Oh, of course. I don't really feel like a sucker knowing that this is going to come out. I just know that, hey, this is going to be better for me in the long run if I get this now instead of waiting for the next model and the next model, because if I keep waiting for the next model, then I'm never going to get it.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, like, in today's age, as they produce more, they raise the price, and then we have to go buy it, right? And if you look at the model on how they need to establish a product and the cycle of the product, not everybody will be, all right, I'm just going to skip a phone. Like, I haven't bought a new phone since 2019. I need one, but I just haven't bought one yet. I won't cop the new Samsung because I'm done with OnePlus. But I haven't done it yet because it's not that urgent. Like, I'm not hurting for a new phone.
Exactly. You don't need it yet.
I'm part of the problem because I'm skipping my cycle. I was supposed to buy a phone 2 years ago because it's a 2-year phone cycle. That's how the industry established themselves. But there are people with iPhones like 7 still.
I know someone with an iPhone 5S.
The 5S was a perfect phone for its time. And it still kind of is. Like, of course, you'll be upset with the camera.
Of course.
But it works the same.
I told her, I'm like, yo, you have something not a lot of us have anymore. A home button and a headphone jack.
I will love a headphone jack, but I've now was forced, because of planned obsolescence, to move all my digital to Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So I have wireless my Beats Pro. I have my AirPods Pro. I was forced to move to my best equipment, my $200 headphones, which I used to, buy those nice $300 ones with the cable. But now I have to. Now I have to buy the Bluetooth ones.
It's a nature of technology, Bashtin. Sometimes, things get obsolete, or they force things into becoming obsolete so they can make way for the new stuff. Happened with VCRs into DVDs, happened with DVDs into Blu-rays, and now we're all streaming.
Now we're all streaming. And then, some streams, because of how they understand how money works, they could keep the price at $9.99. Yep. Or it could be like Netflix, who lost another,
1 million subscribers.
Yeah, a little over 800,000 subscribers again. And this is the game that we're playing. We're playing that everything is going up. It's like, no, we're allowing, or the government, Biden specifically, could, create some rules and regulations to say, like, hey, Jack, I know what you guys are doing. You're playing this game of, raising prices to increase your profit margin, and we're going to stop that. And the best way to do it is to tax them. That's it. You got to change the rules on how you tax these corporations so they can't use these different accounts to dodge certain taxes. If they buy a company in Canada, then boom, they don't have to pay U.S. taxes. They just have to continue paying Canadian taxes. I think Hershey's did that a while ago.
It's crazy that you say that, Bashtin. Is I've been thinking about this a lot as of lately, especially since the House passed the bill for same-sex marriage and interracial marriage to be codified, and now that's going up to Senate. I was thinking about this the whole time. It was like, I think this is what is part of the Democratic game sometimes. It's knowing they should do something, but they don't do it, and so they use that as an incentive for people to vote for them. It's like, hey, we're trying our hardest to get abortions codified. We're trying to, we're so vote for us, and we can guarantee this can happen. And it's a cycle over and over again. Look what Joe did. Look at what Joe said as an incentive for us to vote for his ass. Has he done a lot of the things that he said? Not really. No. But he said, hey, it's either me or Donald Trump, and you don't want this man to be here. And then he pulled a black card on us, Bash. He said, yo, if you don't vote for me, you are not black. Did we eat that up? No, but, a lot of black people in droves, a lot of young people did vote. And now look where we are. So I feel like it's part of the Democratic ploy to, do certain things and sort of do things that can make it seem like they're doing some things, but, we want stuff like abortions to be codified. So, hey, in order for us to do that, I need y'all to vote for us because, again, Bashtin, this is going to be the most crucial voting in the history of America. Wait, didn't you say that 2 years ago? Didn't you say that 4 years ago? Did you say that another 4 years ago? I feel like it's all just a game.
No, you're right. It is all a game. And it's funny just learning about how, like, corporations work, right? It's like in the 80s, they're number one. But now they're just not it anymore. They're not the it factor. It's like, what happened? It's like, well, they didn't want to conform with reality. It's like of what people want today. They knew what people want when they decided to keep in their own ways, to keep in their old ways, where it worked back then, so it should work now. But it's like you're dealing with a different generation. You're dealing with a generation that saw how our parents did things and realized, I don't want to be them.
Yeah.
30 years in one company, that sounds wild to me, especially companies treating me like crap.
Yeah.
So for one, it's great that the House passes the same-sex marriage bill. I think it was like Democrats 220, Republicans 47, and for the yays, and for the nays, it was strictly just Republicans 157, and that's going to go to Senate, and hopefully it just passes the Senate 50-50. I think there should be some Republicans voting for it. I'm assuming, I don't know, I have to double check, but I think there should be some Republicans voting for it. So I think it should pass fairly quickly.
Definitely.
And just to kind of bite my words, because I did say this like maybe a month ago when you asked me, do you think they're going to do something? I said, yeah, but I hope not. I hope they do, and they're doing something. This is something that they should have done earlier last year, yes. But as the liberals saying, we could get what we could get.
Yeah, and also like your boy Joe said, as you so mentioned earlier on in the year, certain things aren't the main focus. Like they could have codified Roe v. Wade, they could have codified that, but as you said to us 2 months ago, Joe Byron said that wasn't a main focus that they were dealing with. You know what they were dealing with? Giving another $1 billion to the Ukraine. So,
And they also passed...
Could have given that to black people, but hey, whatever, I don't know nothing.
A couple of weeks ago, they did pass a gun control bill that didn't really do much. I don't have my notes. I think I was supposed to talk about it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. But that bill was a bipartisan bill, but that bill didn't have the things that it needed. Like they took out so much of like establishing like age, establishing multiple background checks, like establishing banning like assault rifles. They didn't want to add any of those to the bill. They added a lot of smaller laws to it, and also like giving extra money to the police officers for training.
Yeah.
Like, come on. This is what they passed. This is what they're working on. In terms of going back to what I said, as a liberal saying would be like, get what you can get. And that just doesn't get us far anywhere. That doesn't go anywhere.
It's sort of like they're asking for chicken shallot and they're okay with getting chicken shit.
Yeah. It's more like, getting iceberg salad. Could be this like beautiful Cobb salad that costs like, $20, but you made it by your hand. So we know where it's coming from, but you're lying. You're telling me it costs $20 the same. And I know it's iceberg lettuce. Come on, bro. So in terms of where politics is going, then telling us like vote for us. So in November, we'll be able to keep, the amount of people that we have in Congress, the amount of people we have in the Senate. Sounds ridiculous.
I have a feeling that they're going to run that. I have a strange feeling they're going to run that.
No, they're running it right now.
Okay.
They've been running it. That's their strategy, right? Constantly asking for donations. Constantly sending emails asking like, hey,
that's what politicians do.
No, of course you could do that, but you have to show that you're doing something for us. Like, bro, I'm voting for you, hence you're fighting for me. But what it seems like you're fighting for your corporate donors that, you could go on the list and see what money goes to what PACs, right? On both sides.
Well, Bashtin,
and see who they're voting for, who they're fighting for.
Well, Bashtin, Hillary Clinton was so cocky and confident that she would be winning the presidency in 2016. She didn't make certain stops in certain areas where, she just assumed that she was going to get off of her name, not knowing any better. And, what happened because of that? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
I do think her loss in terms of the electoral vote, which she lost, but she won the popular vote.
Yes, she did win the popular vote.
So the thing that she was hoping to win, she got, but she didn't get the system.
Yes.
And it has to do on part of how the Democrat system was presenting these candidates by not naturally eliminating due to public interest. It's just to completely not expose or not give option. Because this is America. We love options. Like, what do you want? Like, Gio, like, if I ask you, it's like, yo, we're going out for I want a nice hamburger.
Yes.
Then you're going to ask me, what are you feeling?
Yes.
You're going to ask me a slew of questions before you give an answer. We're in a country of options, but when we see an option we like just like Bernie Sanders, all right, or Elizabeth Warren, like, those are your options. You like them. Okay, great. But now because Hillary's running, you're going to tell Elizabeth Warren to slow down? We got to do progress for women. So Elizabeth Warren, we need you to chill. All right, she dropped out early. All right, Bernie Sanders is picking up flame, especially with our generation, the young generation. They get it. The young generation, they always understand what's going on.
We feel the burn.
You feel the burn, Like, the taxes don't hit me yet. I could vote for you, right? So that's just how young people are. And then, the emails got leaked, Massage. You remember all those things?
I do remember that.
And then you see the DNC email saying they're doing their best to kind of remove Bernie Sanders from the playing field. And they do. They did it in 2016.
Quite effectively. I saw the Michael Moore doc. I saw it.
Like when Biden was running, it was to the point where you had someone like Rosie O'Donnell. Like, you remember Rosie O'Donnell show?
Yes, I do remember the Rosie O'Donnell show.
She was on TV saying, like, why isn't Bernie Sanders dropping out the race? It's like, what? That's crazy. It's like, this is the game of options. So they had to pull their liberal card and ask celebrities, like, to ask Bernie Sanders, like, why aren't you dropping out? It's like, what? You're going to tell me to quit?
But of course, this is a Clinton after all. And the Clintons, they hold some weight when it comes to politics, when it comes to entertainment. They're movers and shakers within this system here that people don't really know about, that I'd say masses may not really know or understand how much, like, the Clintons are involved with certain things. Maybe I'll get into them a little bit later. Hopefully they don't come after me and try and kill me. But if they do, the Clintons did it. That's all I'm saying.
In terms of people do know, or they're just not aware of the full extent, I do think it's just hype, when talk about, Hillary Clinton's emails. It's like, all right, like, tell me what's in Hillary Clinton's emails. And they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know where to start.
Right. Or people who they're even connected to, and people who just have, like, a blind eye to certain things. And I think sometimes we as not even we as a society, but the upper echelons of our society, they move in a way where, it's not really supposed to be spoken about, but I feel people are, I hope people are smart enough to know that these things are happening behind the scenes, but it's just never talked about, right? It's sort of like that dirty little secret, or people think of it as a conspiracy, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty much it to most people. It's just a conspiracy, just an idea, or certain people understand what's truly going on, and they just won't believe the media perspective, or even if it's a private, independent perspective, they still won't believe that either.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. It's good that they passed the same-sex marriage bill. Senate to Senate, make them pass it. But like I said, things that you should have done sooner, you're just now doing it through the pressure. And I still don't know what the plan is for like the abortions. Like, if you allowed it to go to the Supreme Court and they overturned it in their long-term plan to make the Supreme Court more Republican.
And we told you this would happen.
They did. They mission accomplished. The conservatives did what they wanted to do.
And they're flexing those muscles.
Years.
They're flexing those muscles
really quickly. I think they're going a little too quickly. I think, it's like when a villain reveals their plan.
Yes.
I think that's where they messed up a little bit.
Okay.
When he wrote like his opinion saying like we should now look at like the Constitution bill, look at same-sex marriage bill, look at all these other bills.
Yeah, the top coon of 2022, Clarence Thomas.
Once he said that, it's like, it's like now anytime there's a case that's involved any of these past court cases, we could look into it and we might even overturn it. If he didn't say those lines, I don't think there'll be much pressure to push the same-sex marriage bill, for example.
I agree with you there.
Society is kind of cartoonish in this era. It's always been cartoonish, but I do think it was more of a villain. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
No, but I agree 100% with what you're saying.
He played his cards. If he didn't say it, like, I don't think they'll push this right now. But yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into the first song of the week, and this song goes out to all the creeps out there. It goes out to all of the weirdos, and this song is going to set up the conversation that Bashtin and I are going to have, because we have to call this out, because we've been seeing a lot of exposés when it comes to fraud and stuff, but never people at the 1%, never people at the top. But now we're starting to see that a little bit. So here is The Police with one of the sickest songs ever made, Every Breath You Take. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing. That was The Police with Every Breath You Take, one of the most nastiest songs ever. Dutty Boi, that man sting for coming up with these lyrics. It's supposed to be sweet, but if you really get into the lyrics, every step you take, every move you make, it's giving stalker vibes. It's giving stalker.
It's giving creep.
It's giving creep. It's giving the Night Stalker. It's giving all of that. Oh, man. Welcome back to Black Seinfeld. And hey, if you enjoyed this conversation, if you enjoyed these vibes that we're giving to you here live on 99.5 FM, please also download our podcast, too. We're available on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Pandora, and all that other good stuff. Just go to your RSS feed and go to Black Seinfeld. Even Google Black Seinfeld. We pop up on Google. We're #1 on Google right now. In case you don't know, you should know that. But also, hey, if you want to leave us a comment, send us some music, maybe, if you have a question, go to blackseinfeldny@gmail.com to drop anything you want us to read or listen to. If you have the guts to, please do so. Also, we have our social media platforms. Go to Black Seinfeld NY for our Twitter, our TikTok, and our Instagram. Also, Bashtin, we are working hard on the YouTube, and the YouTube content is coming. We're uploading past episodes, so it's now available on YouTube, Black Seinfeld. It's there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now, Bashtin, we always have conversations here on Black Seinfeld about finance, about money, and one of the reasons why we're having a lot of those conversations is due to the rise in a lot of these scammer documentaries, a lot of these fraud documentaries, like Bad Vegan, Tinder Swindler. There's like that show Inventing Anna, which discussed this billionaire Russian heiress that sort of conned her way into New York's elite 1% class and gave her all this damn money. But also, we love talking about cryptocurrency. We love talking about NFTs and all the rug pulls and all of the scams that celebrities get themselves involved in and all that stuff too. But of course, you also got to think about back in 2020 where the whole PPP loans were huge within our community in particular. So much so that on that free movie app, I forgot what it's called, there's a goddamn movie about PPP loans. Not a documentary of a PPP loan, but like one of your like hood movie PPP loan movies, and I tried to get through it. I only got halfway through because of how boring it is.
I remember in the latest Lupe Fiasco album, he actually had a bar about drones going over to see what you're doing with the PPP loans. So the government is watching you. So I thought that was funny. A good reference.
That is a great reference. But you know what's something we don't really talk about is the fact that there's another rise in documentaries now. And there's a rise in a lot of exposés of some of the most wealthiest men in America that are billionaires that have these multi-billion-dollar companies. And there's a lot of exposés and a lot of exposing going on in this era now. And I really wanted to talk about that stuff because, you know, for so long, a lot of these things have been hidden to the public, and a lot of it has just been going on with this eye that seems to be very complacent almost. And it's actually really disturbing because as a CEO or even as a big exec, right, there's a lot of things that is expected of you within that responsibility that I'm learning now in corporate America. And of course you have like this whole HR team that's behind you, and there's sort of, you know, codes and conducts and way you have to present yourself, right? Yeah, that cat Roger Ailes, who's the big TV exec for one of the most powerful companies of all time in the News Corp. He was running Fox. He was there for years, right? And I remember, you know, that whole scandal came out where Roger Ailes was harassing for a long time a lot of news anchors, right? He would give these women incentives, and with those incentives, you know, that he would take advantage of them and then promote them to be one of their biggest stars on Fox News, right? But now, in my world, because I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, the Wall Street Journal back in June 16th had an expose of one Vince McMahon. And for those of you who think that name is familiar, Vince McMahon is the chairman, was the chairman and CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment, or Federation for that matter. And back in June 16th, the Wall Street Journal gave us an expose which McMahon paid out $3 million to a former paralegal as an NDA to keep her mouth shut on the consensual affair that they were having for the past 2 years. And I was just like, oh shoot, this was like one of the major bombshells that's ever been dropped in professional wrestling, because Bashtin, the greatest wrestling mind and the greatest promoter, right, within professional wrestling is Vince McMahon, because he took his father's company, because Vince McMahon Sr.'s company, which was on the verge of bankruptcy, he took that from a regional company to this now $1 billion worldwide company. And so without Vince McMahon, you wouldn't get names like Hulk Hogan. I'm sure you know that name. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, of course, John Cena being one of the latest ones. So seeing that expose, a lot of things happened because of that expose that dropped. And one of the things immediately that happened was Vince stepping down from his position as chairman and CEO immediately once the Wall Street Journal broke that story. And now in his place is his daughter, Stephanie McMahon. And I remember WWE tweeting something out that Thursday stating that Mr. McMahon, which is his wrestling persona, wrestling character, being like this evil billionaire a-hole boss, he was going to make an appearance on SmackDown. So he comes out on SmackDown, and what really grind my gears off rip was the applause that the audience was giving him. And so he comes out and he's like, "Welcome to SmackDown," and he goes, "You know, the opening of our show, it says here, now, and forever, and those words are important, but the most important words right now is together, and that's what we all need. Welcome to SmackDown." And he leaves. And I was like, you know what? Vince's ego is so far up his ass. That was Vince's way of saying, F you, I'm not going anywhere. That was the Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not fucking leaving. That was his way of saying that. Because he appointed his daughter to be just the figurehead. Because Vince, he's still running day-to-day operations. He's still the head of talent. He's still the head of creative. So he's still putting on the show that he wants. So his power isn't really diminished because he owns most of the stock. Like he has most of the voting power. So nothing really seems to be changing as of yet, right? WWE took it on, the board of directors took it upon themselves, right, to hire an outside source to see if there's any more incidents of this happening, right? And so
what incidents?
I'm going to get to this. To see if there's any more foul play, if there's any more sort of incidences where McMahon is dishing out hush money with messing with one of his employees, which you're not supposed to do as the damn CEO and chairman. Sorry, like that's not allowed. If you work in corporate America, if you are a top exec, you can't
do any quid pro quo.
If you have any sort of influence, if you have any sort of power within corporate America, you can't go around dating, being with, having an affair with any of your employees. It's not allowed, like, at all. That's something I've learned in my past year of corporate America. You can't do that at all. But since, this was a private company for a while, and ever since it became public, these things are starting to come out now. And so Vince was willing to cooperate, and he said, with these private investigators from a private firm, they're going to read into everything, and hey, we're going to see if there's been any other instances that's occurred similar to this situation. And guess what, Bashtin? 2 weeks ago, the Wall Street Journal broke another story. 4 other instances that we know of now that's come to light where McMahon has dished out at least $12 million of his own money in NDAs for women to keep quiet about, past relations that he might have had with them, or sexual harassment he might have given to some of his coworkers. And I know one in particular was an actual wrestler, right? So in 2005, right, McMahon coerced this person into giving him some of that bop da ba da ba da doo wop da ba da ba da doo wop da ba da ba da doo, right, for in what the wrestling world calls a push, meaning you're going to be seen more on television, you're going to win more matches, and you're going to be pushed into becoming a star, right? So he coerced her into doing that. And then what happened was she got demoted, so she started losing a lot more. She isn't getting enough TV times, and then after that, you know, she got fired because she didn't want to do what Vince wanted her to do anymore. And because of that, in 2018, you know, the wrestler and the attorney showed up on Vince, and Vince paid her about $7 million in hush money.
$7 million?
Of his own money, bruh, in hush money. Another one was a contractor that presented the company itself with unsolicited nude pics of Vince McMahon, right? And also alleged that he was sexually harassing her on the job. And according to people familiar with the situation back in 2008, McMahon paid about $1 million in hush money. Want me to keep reading more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, in 2006, McMahon paid another $1 million to a former manager to stay quiet about their sexual relationship. Even if it's
consensual.
Even if it's consensual, it's still not allowed. You can't do this stuff. There was a guy back in CNN, powerful dude in CNN, who was having a consensual relationship with one of their employees. Guess what? He had to go. They got rid of him. You can't do
that. Happened the same thing with the last, I think, McDonald's CEO.
Yes. You can't do that stuff. Because, again, if you are in a position of power, you can't be using that power. You can't be flexing that power in that way. You can't do it. It's wrong. And it's not. And for those of you who are saying, oh, well, you know, he's paying his own money to keep these women quiet. That's still not a good look.
Yeah,
you know why?
Steve Easterbrook with McDonald's in 2019.
Yes.
Who was ousted from the company for having inappropriate relationships with a subordinate.
Yeah. It's not allowed. Especially because these are now publicly traded companies. And with these publicly traded companies, you are getting a lot of deals from different companies. They just had $1 billion deal with NBC for Peacock. They're streaming on Peacock, so they have $1 billion from that. So all this stuff is coming out. It's not a good look on Peacock. It's not a good look on Fox 5, because SmackDown's on Fox. You know, all this stuff now it's coming out, and this is coming out about the chairman and the CEO, well, former CEO. This is their leader that these stories have been coming out on, and this stuff has been happening. These instances that's been happening for the past 15 years. There's things that we may not even know about. You know what I'm saying?
The unknown unknowns.
The unknown unknowns. But also, with McMahon, there's also another big executive within the company, John Laurinitis. Some of you may know him as Johnny Ace. He was a wrestler back in the day, but now he became one of the big execs. He was he's the vice president, Bashtin, of talent relations. So meaning, you know, he hires and fires wrestlers. You know, that's his gig, right? He trains them, he fires people, he hires people. He does all that stuff when it comes to the wrestling talent, right? He deals with all that stuff. Whatever they need, all that stuff. That's what he deals with. But you know what the crazy thing is? You know, Vince was having an affair with this paralegal. Turns out, guess what Vince did? He passed her to the homie. He passed her to John Laurinitis. I'm dead ass right now. I know you're speechless. I know you're looking at me like, this is real, Bashtin. I'm dead ass right now.
This is all coming out recently, right?
All coming out. This has all came out since June. Middle of June 16th. This has been all coming out.
And as a wrestling fan,
yes,
and also you just try to explain how everybody else is feeling. Wrestling goes deep for a lot of people. That's how they were able to bond with their fathers, bond with their friends, bond with their family, because of how strong wrestling is. And we both love hip hop. Hip hop loves wrestling too.
Yeah, absolutely.
How is everybody feeling? How are you feeling? Take me through what's going on in your mind.
Me personally, am I shocked that this is happening? Absolutely not. You know why? Because Vince McMahon, the wrestling character, has always portrayed himself as this money-hungry, lustful, always cheating on my wife type of character, right? So I always thought this that this has to be some sort of, reflection on the real man himself, right? And boy, was I right, but just I didn't know how much he got down. But apparently, with all this stuff going on and this real expose happening, I didn't know how far it went back. But with the report going back almost as 15 years, it could be more than 15 years. Apparently, there was an incident back in '86 where he sexually harassed one of the female referees. That isn't really talked about as much, but I knew about that. So I knew Vince couldn't keep his hands to himself, because look at back then, especially when it comes to like the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era, with the women in particular, Bashtin, these were sexy women. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these women were like swimsuit models. A lot of them were athletes. They did like fitness model competitions and all that stuff. So,
and they transitioned to the career of wrestling. And
when you can't transition yourself into wrestling, and you have to be seen by the freaking head of talent relations, Johnny Laurinitis, and of course Vince McMahon, it's almost as like, it's like you picking out your own buffet. Who do you want to stick around? Who do you want to kick out? Hey, if you want to be a star, I can help you with that. It's disgusting, yes, but am I shocked at that? No.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems that there's a lot going on, especially in the world of wrestling. But there are other wrestling channels. Do you think one day they could just try to... what channel is doing a contract? You said Peacock?
Well, yes, Peacock right now, or NBC, gave them $1 billion for to stream their content. And it's like a 5-year content.
So you think contract. They're just too big to stop, right? They're just too big to fail.
McMahon has made a bankrupting business damn near foolproof now. They're shooting money out their asses now because of these big contracts that they're getting from these television deals, these toy deals, the streaming deals. It's $1 billion company right now. So is it going to die anytime soon? No. But again, it's up to the board, or it's going to be up to the board of directors to really try and oust this man out, because this man has, like I said, all the goddamn power.
He has all the clout because he's winning.
If he was
losing, it's a different story.
Exactly. Am I a fan of the product now? No. But again, with all this guaranteed money that's coming in, they really don't have to do much, because they come out with content every week. They come out with content Monday, Tuesday, Friday, sometimes Saturday and Sundays. So that's like 3-4 events a week that they're constantly doing, and there's no reruns, Bashtin. Everything is episodic. Every week is a new episode. Networks kill for that sort of stuff. Simpsons don't do that. SNL doesn't do that, because guess what? A lot of shows, they have they have seasons, so they have breaks. WWE doesn't have any breaks, so it's great for them, and they're still doing well in the ratings, although it's not what it used to be anymore, and that's due to DVRs and streaming and all that stuff. But a lot of that stuff is valuable to these companies. So, if these private teams uncovers more stuff about Vince and his ways, and more stuff about John Laurinaitis, it's not going to be a good look, right? According to McMahon, he said he's willing to accept whatever the findings are out of this investigation, but it doesn't mean that Vince is going to step down anytime soon. He didn't say that. So I think it would be wise of the boards to try and oust him out, because I don't see him resigning anytime soon. Dutty Boi, that man.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't I'm definitely looking from the outside in. I haven't really paid too much attention from it, but you definitely gave a very detailed account of what's going on.
It's all nasty, man. It is. It's not surprising, but it was a long time coming.
Interesting.
I'm just happy to see the explosion happening when it comes to Vince. But that's not the only person that's been getting the huge expose as of late. Because we recently saw this documentary, Angels and Demons, which is based on Victoria's Secret and their fearless leader, Les Wexner, who is one of the richest men here in America because of his damn empire of Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, Pink. All that stuff is Les Wexner.
L brand.
The L brand, which is limited, right? I know some of y'all, if y'all as old as Bashtin and I are, I'm sure you are aware of the Limited brand and Limited 2. Bashtin, do you remember Limited 2?
I don't remember Limited. I don't think, for some reason, I think I do, but I really don't. They actually
it's for women.
To Bath and Body Works Inc.
Ah. Oh, because it's no longer L brand?
Yes.
Oh, well, Les, he stepped down and blah, blah, blah. But we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that later. But, yes, Bashtin, you saw the documentary. What were your opinions on it? Let the people know what it was about.
So this documentary is a 3-part series provided by Hulu, talking about the rise and the fall of Les Wexner. I like to say it also speaks on their relation, Les Wexner, the CEO and the owner, relation with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes.
So the documentary transitions from what was Les doing? How did he grow his empire? How did he control the image of women dealing with lingerie? And what was his involvement and relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
Yes. And for those Oh, I'm sorry. And for those of you who do not remember, Jeffrey Epstein was a financier, so he basically took on the financial responsibilities for some of the top executives, top 1% people in America. And, it came out that he was sex trafficking underage girls, and he and his concubine were in on it. And then he got busted for it, and then he hung himself because... Allegedly, he hung himself. Allegedly, he killed himself. Allegedly. Yeah.
But that's... thank you, Gio, for that.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure everybody's heard of him, seen stories of him, watched the documentary, read articles. We can't really escape this person. And we shouldn't, because there's a lot more story to tell with this person.
Yes.
And his death pretty much exemplifies, it shows there's more. As I said earlier in this episode, there's something about politics and life that's a bit cartoony. Cartoons are a reflection of what's going on today. Just, exaggerated to the point. That's why, people like South Park, because they know how to exaggerate something that happened last week.
Yes. It's a satire.
It's satire in a way. So, Angels and Demons, first of all, I think it's a terrible documentary off rip. Just not good at all.
Yeah,
Gio.
I agree. It's not that great.
It's not that great. It loses thread on what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
It's like you're writing an essay, then you decided to add fluff to it, because the fluff is so much more interesting than the actual essay. And that fluff is Jeffrey Epstein in this documentary. Oh,
of course. He becomes almost like the vocal point of the documentary, where it's not even much about Les anymore. It's more about Jeffrey Epstein. They just use Les as an excuse to talk about Jeffrey Epstein and all the crap that he's been doing and all the stuff that we didn't know that he was a part of.
Yeah. And it's strange because there is place for to talk about him. But the problem is, and it does relate to Vince McMahon in the way of, we don't know what really happened. There are things that people spoke about, things that people were paid off, and things that apparently everybody in the inner circle and the outer circle knew. We knew that X, Y, and Z was this type of person.
Yes.
So you just didn't say anything because of your career. Okay.
And because y'all were making money.
And everybody was eating. So this documentary, yes, it talks about Lex and how he bought Victoria's Secret. And it's interesting because I was thinking watching it, it's like, I thought it was a story about a man who felt embarrassed buying lingerie for his wife. And it's true. The original Victoria's Secret, that was the idea.
The married couple.
But he bought it from them and kind of expanded into this multi-conglomerate company.
Because back then, Victoria's Secret was a bit more classier back then. And then Lex bought it, and he changed the image of Victoria's Secret into this man's fantasy of what he think women should be wearing, which is
perfect body,
the women's perfect body, and basically scantily lingerie. And with that brand, it has it increased exponentially. And to really cap it off, in I believe 99 was the first ever Victoria's Secret fashion show, where a lot of models got their big breaks modeling a lot of Victoria's Secret's lingerie, and that was a huge thing. That was a huge TV thing for like the past 20 years.
I think I've only watched it once, and that was through Twitter. I've never paid attention to it. I'm not the demographic for it.
Right, we're not the demographic, but in Lex's mind it's meant for women and men, because who doesn't want to see like some women in some lingerie? Am I right? The first ever fashion show, there was a bunch of men in the crowd.
Yeah, and I think the documentary could have just focused on a little bit more about how. And they did a pretty good job saying it, but they didn't dive into it. How someone like Justin Bieber being there attracted younger audiences to visualize and see and understand. It's like, okay, I'm 12-year-old. This is what a woman looks like. So as they grow up, they're going to want to have that type of body. And of course, a lot of things happen. It's like they will have body issues and self-esteem issues because they weren't able to attain that. I think they could have deep dived that into a little bit more. But that's why it meant about this is not a good documentary, because they had all these ideas going on, but they were so focused on Jeffrey Epstein that they forgot to talk more about Les Wexner and what makes him bad. Like, there's so much things to pretty much point out. It's like, why is he bad? Jeffrey Epstein is one important part to discuss it. You could have like maybe just one episode just discussing strictly on the things they spoke about. But you also have to talk about how Lex Wexner did not listen to any of the women within the company when they're talking about the direction they want to go, and only listen to the man's opinion, because as they said multiple times in the documentary, it's his focus, it's his mind, it's his idea.
It's his company.
It's his company. So I felt like, if I edited it, it would be like maybe a 4-part, but everything was 30 minutes long. So you could give Jeffrey Epstein like a 30-minute video, because I do think it's important to talk about him because of how Jeffrey Epstein is involved with all these other billionaires. But to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, then to also talk about other people he's related to outside of this Victoria's Secret documentary, it
throws it off.
It's giving fluff. We're the masters of fluff. We're on the radio, right?
Of course.
Sometimes it's a little fluff to talk.
It's 1:15 right now. We're doing amazing with the fluff.
But if you're watching something like this, and we read articles that talk about so much about things that's going on in the background scene, that you wouldn't mind seeing or hearing first-hand account of people that worked with both of these people, and like people that worked close to Les, and see like how he was dealing with these issues. It's like if something came up to chain and say, hey, Jeffrey Epstein is telling everybody that he has connects to Victoria's Secret and he can make you a model. Like,
earlier on when they didn't even meet yet, No,
they met by then.
No, remember I believe it was like part 1 or maybe it was part 2 where they haven't even met yet, but there was a person committing fraud, saying that, hey, I am a huge exec over at Victoria's Secret, and hey, I can introduce you to,
No, they've met by then. They granted. He was part of the company by then. He was part of the company by then, because what I remember, 'cause I just watched it. They said it went up to Wes, and Wes said, "I'll talk to him," and that was it.
Right, and
so he was already part of it. He was just not. He's not an employee,
right,
per se. So he
was just this finance. He was just this finance guy. Basically, Epstein was in charge of basically everything financially.
Attorney of power.
Yeah, he was an attorney of power. So basically, that meant he was in charge of everything in Les's life.
Yeah. So I did find it very strange, but like I said, to relate to the Vince McMahon, Vince Mahone, that's his name.
Vince McMahon.
McMahon. Okay.
He's Irish.
Oh, okay, that's why.
Yes.
It's all these billionaires that do a lot of things behind the scenes, and it's really hard to catch them in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And we are in this, and the documentary did discuss how a lot of things changed with Victoria's Secret because of the Me Too era. Hence, now we're able to kind of see these terrible, terrible billionaires who's been doing these things for years.
Yeah.
And they have, like, all these lawyers have everything in files, so they know who said what and when. They have everything lined up. It's just up to them to kind of like give it to the press, and then people like you and me will be able to see it. And
it's very important to make this point clear, because they've made it apparent throughout the documentaries where, according to the attorneys of Mr. Les Wexner, he had no idea that any of these things were going on when it came to Jeffrey Epstein, and he severed all ties with him back in 2007 after the first allegations came out about him in 2006. So, according to Les, he didn't know anything that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. He didn't know anything about it. He's innocent in this, and with that, I call BS on it immediately. I call BS on that. What about you?
I think he was aware. I think he knew
exactly
at least 90% of what was going on, because the information will go back up to him. It's like, hey, did you know da was saying da?
Exactly, because how can you not? There's been several complaints made about him.
It's easier to separate it if not everything's on paper. But I think the more interesting part, like I said, I would have made this 44 episodes and give 30 minutes to his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, because of how most of Jeffrey Epstein's property wasn't his. Like, he didn't go buy it. He bought it off of Les.
Right.
So that beautiful, super expensive apartment house, like that whole house in the Manhattan, it previously was owned by Les, and then Jeffrey Epstein bought it for $20 million, which is way under property value, and same thing for the jets and stuff. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, how would you buy a house, then sell it under market value to another multimillionaire at the time?
It makes you wonder, and that was the biggest thing that also came out of the documentary, is the kind of relationship they had with each other. They sort of they were alluding to certain things in part 3. I'm not gonna say it, but they were alluding to some things, people.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't even recommend anybody to check it out. But we just wanted to connect the two with like what's going on with like these billionaires.
Yeah, with the movers and the shakers.
Movers and the shakers.
Exactly, and how it relates into politics and stuff. Because if you don't know, Jeffrey Epstein was a huge, not a huge fan, but he had relationships with the Clintons and with the Trumps, and in fact, a year prior to when the whole Clinton thing happened. The whole Clinton scandal happened. Jeffrey Epstein, he went to the White House around, 6 times to meet up with Bill Clinton. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, people, that's why I'm bringing this up, man. The movers and the shakers, man, they have some things about themselves that you know, that is not up to par. That's all I'm saying. And we gonna wrap this up because I don't want to say too much because, again, I could die right now. So, you know.
You're not going to Jeffrey Epstein me.
Exactly. You're not going to Jeffrey Epstein me. What Jay say?
Allegedly.
What Jay say in Smile? I forgot. All right, man. So we're going to take a little pause for the cause. We're going to take a little break. This song right here, we have Mr. Joey Badass back again with some more tracks. He's coming out with an album this Friday. I can't wait for it. This right here is Zip Codes, and when we come back, I have to ask Bashtin an important question. Stick around. It's Black Seinfeld in the show about nothing. Joey Badass, Zip Codes. Woo! What do you think, Bashtin?
Oh yeah, my first time hearing it. It's okay.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think his music sound great together, like his last album,
All American Badass.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling the singles or listening to tracks separately, but when I took my time to listen together as a whole, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought his last album was pretty good.
Yeah, man. So this is going to be the first album he's coming out with since 5 years, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man. So, Bashtin, how have you been feeling these past couple days, man? I know that you've been going through something very, very, very drastic in your life, you know. And I want to let you know I understand exactly how you feel, because a year ago, when the Joe Budden podcast broke up, where Joe fired Rory and Mal on air, that hurt. That eated at
How
me.
did he fire them on air? He just said, like, they're not coming back here anymore, something like that?
Well, basically, he said, Rory, you're fired. Mal, you can come back if you want to, but Rory's out of here. Rory is fired.
Were they in the room together?
No, they were not in the room together. Okay. Rory and Mal were not there. They were tired of Joe not, holding up his end of the bargain with their deal. Joe was not willing to show... He wasn't willing to show Rory or Mal the accounting that was supposed to be shown. That was part of their contract, because they were shared partners. They're profit partners, so they had to see the accounting to know how much money they're supposed to be getting. But Joe was like, "No, you're not going to see my accounting," and so that really put a tear on the relationship.
So that tear was pretty interesting compared to what happened with the Bodega Boys.
That's right, Deezus and Mero, man.
So just to quickly comment on it, and I'm a huge fan of both of those guys. Those guys pretty much got me into really focusing on radio and podcasting after I was listening to the Bodega Boy podcast. I think it was back in 2015, I like to say.
Yes, definitely.
Because I definitely told you about it. It's like, yo, you should check them out. I think that's like up to episode 5 or episode 6. Like, yo, these guys are crazy.
I knew about Deezus and Mero because Charlemagne put them on to... They had him on first on his podcast, The Brilliant Idiots, and I remember they got famous because they did like a Paul McCartney tweet. They're like, yo,
yes,
like
the Jesus one.
Yeah, I believe there was like, something to the effect of, who the hell is this Paul McCartney guy on Kanye's track or something like that. He was obviously trolling, but
yeah. But, so it was the first episode back in September 11, 2015.
Yeah, man.
So you go way, way, way back, and that's when I became a fan. And it was always interesting hearing locals, like these are Bronx guys, and they talk like people I know, especially working in the city. 9 times out of 10, if you work in the city, you work with someone that lives in the Bronx.
Right.
So they recently broke up. The show's over. No more Deezus and Mero on Showtime. And it's been 4 years since they did that move from Viceland to Showtime. So it was just... It was hurtful. It it hit me hard. They haven't hit their 10-year anniversary yet, because the first time they started making content together was 2013.
Right.
But they're always on Twitter making content. So, as someone on the radio, as someone that, you know, talks all the time, it feels bad to know, like, your forefathers just, like, fell off.
Yeah.
Not fell off the same way. I'm using fell off as the wrong term. I mean, like, just
they disbanded.
Broke up. They disbanded. They're no longer a team. They can't work together. And the thing is, there's been rumors that they haven't been working together for the past couple months.
Man.
So I think they were just waiting for the breaking point, and it just happened. And it's strange because, you know, Viceland, they worked really well together. They're also able to do the Bodega Boys podcast together at the same time.
Correct.
Then when Viceland kind of pumped so many episodes out of them, because it was like 5 times a week.
Right, because it was a live show.
Yeah, it was recorded partially live. Mm-hmm. And then they moved to Showtime, and then they're able to control their hours a lot more. A lot of high-end interviews. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought they did a pretty good job, especially with the small skits they were doing.
Yeah.
And they kind of slowed down on, like, relevance because people weren't too happy of how they were doing it. But I did think because of the pandemic and how they were still doing interviews through, you know, like using Skype and video, it brought their relevance back. Also, we had a lot more free time to watch the show. And they're still the same guys. And that's how I felt too. It's like I didn't watch the show as much Showtime, but once they started doing the videos, I started watching them a lot more.
Same.
And I thought they were great. It's like, wow, these guys still got it. It's just, you know, it's difficult creating double the amount of content. Because if you're like a weekly show or daily show and you're doing it on 2 different mediums, both podcast and on TV, you don't want to, I guess, repeat content.
Yeah.
For us, we only have one source, 2 hours a week. Hence, we're not going to repeat anything besides our conversations.
Exactly.
Prior to the show. So, for Jesus and Mero to split like that, so nonchalant in the middle of the work week, it does sound...
It was shocking.
Does feel painful. But I knew it was coming.
Wait, you knew already?
Yeah, I just told you. It's like, they've been rumors that they have kind of been beefing low-key for the past couple months.
Damn.
You know, when you have Hollywood Daniel, shout out to Jesus, doing his own things, and he's doing his own show, he's just flying across the seas. Then Mero, you know, he's a father of 4, he's a busy man. I
movies.
Me personally, I thought they will eventually break up too, because of the lifestyle they're living is just vastly different. They're no longer at the same level. They're both growing very quickly, but it's just going to split somewhere down the middle. And for them to split like this, hoping one day, you know, we could hear more information. Hopefully it's not something too flagrant like money stealing and all those type of stuff.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's just like no longer seeing eye to eye. I totally get it, you know. But I'm hoping they equally split where both of them are still able to be successful in their mediums. Right, whatever Jesus wants to do, whatever Mero wants to do, I think they're both really good at making their own content and working with others. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see. I feel like ESPN talking about like a trade that happens. Like, I don't know what Nick's going to do with Bronson.
Well, you know,
you should do something with Mitchell Robinson, with Donovan Mitchell. You know, we trade all our young guys for him in our picks.
Well, first off, hopefully that doesn't happen because that would be horrible. But also,
that would be great, but not all our young guys.
Yeah, all the young guys. That's what I'm saying. All of the young guys would be horrible. For Donovan Mitchell,
at least 3. Donovan Mitchell's really, really good.
I know he is. So, he's from New York.
So we could lose 3 guys and a couple of draft picks, especially like not our draft picks. So it's devastating.
But well, you know, you're part of the Bodega Hive. I consider you being a member of it, so I wanted to get your opinion on that because I know exactly how you felt, man. And now, you know, you have to live with the fact that, you know, DJ Envy outlasted these people. I'm sorry, you gotta just take that now.
DJ Envy was there before the Bodega Boys, so I won't even count that. DJ Envy is like the person that's been in this company for 20 years, so I might as well work another 10. So
yeah, fair.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same. I know what you mean, though.
Yeah. Inside joke. But I just hope they don't hate each other. You know what I mean? I hope, they can, I don't know, somehow, maybe a couple years down the line they could come back together and,
Nah, I don't want it.
No, you don't want them to fix their issues?
Not really. It's not unnecessary. Like I said, as a fan and seeing, sometimes you can listen to the Bodega podcast, people like that really listen to it. They know, when some episodes just aren't good. When someone just didn't bring in the A game. The same way when we do the show on the radio, some episodes we feel we're just not doing our justice. So listening to those guys and also reading people's comments and knowing what's going on in the background, seeing they're living two different lives, two different people. They were two different people in the beginning,
right?
And they still are. It's not like they were best friends before. They were two dudes from the Bronx living two separate lives, and that dude from, I think, what was that old Joe Budden show with academics on?
Oh,
Complex?
It was on Complex. Yeah.
Okay, so they
Everyday
started
Struggle.
on Complex. So they started on Complex first, called Jesus versus Mero, and that's how they connected. So yeah, that's where everything started. Then the Bodega Boys, after that got canceled after 54 episodes, Bodega Boys podcast started, and that just popped off into a separate atmosphere. But their talents is on par with a lot of people. I remember, I think Charlemagne was talking to Elvis Duran in one of those interviews, and they both watched the show because they're surprised on how they're able to do this on a daily night.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty difficult. In my opinion, I don't think we could do it.
Every day?
Every day.
Shoot. Yeah, that's kind of hard.
Yeah, you will have to hire 3 people from different parts of life.
But see,
in order to get the content from different angles.
But you mentioned it there. They actually have writing groups and all of that stuff to
But even before, during the podcast, before they popped off to Viceland, the writers in Viceland did definitely help create content for them. But they were doing a lot of content the same way on the podcast. It's just now you could separate it into 30-minute episodes if you want to, but it's still them. You just, of course, hey, find me a video and we could talk about it.
I hear you.
But yeah, it's it's sad to see, but at the same time, I knew it was coming, so I'm not too hurt about it. I'm not too hurt about Michael Jordan's retirement when he said in the beginning of the season that it's not. If Phil Jackson doesn't come back, he's not coming back. So.
You were a baby. You didn't care about that.
Let my reference be.
All right, fine. Well, shouts out to you, Deezus and Mero. Gone, but certainly never forgotten out here in these streets.
Yeah. But the Bodega Boys had a good era. I think what might be frightening is they understood the culture. And they understood how to balance it and not be problematic and all sorts of things. They understood comedy, right?
Yes.
The problem is what other content creators will do that probably talk like them or act like them. And if they're given that same space without the growth. Because they went through Twitter in 2009 to 2012. They seen the craziness.
Of course.
They also changed themselves from 2013 to 2022. So they've seen everything. They're evolved. They're not really forcing anything. But I do think we got to pay attention to these other content creators and making sure they're not forcing too much as well. So it's a lot to think about, whoever is given the mantle of that spot. Or maybe
maybe no one is. Maybe it's going to be a spot all on themselves,
That's not how TV works.
I know,
if there's a missing
Bashtin.
spot, they run up on it. It's yo, who could fit this spot?
I know. I know, man. Listen, there's Keenan and Kel, Deezus and Mero, and we're gonna see who comes up out of this. Maybe it could be Bashtin and Gio. I don't know. That would be tight. Let's end off the show with some music, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about some music. Gio, what have you been listening to?
I listened to the new debut album from one Rowdy Rebel. Right? This has been 6 years in the damn making. All right? We all know the story of Bobby Shmurda, Rowdy Rebel, the GS9. I'm not going to go over it. But finally it is here. After mixtapes, after singles, Rowdy Rebel has finally dropped his debut album. It's a double LP now, Bashtin. Double LP, Rebel versus Rowdy. It's only about 18 tracks, 9 tracks each. Altogether, it's 47 minutes. And I gotta say, Bashtin, honestly, Rowdy Rebel is what we wanted Bobby Shmurda to be when he came out of jail. With these damn hits. With these damn songs. With this damn energy that Rowdy has. It's incredible. The first 9 tracks for the first album, which is Rebel, dedicated to nothing but the drill music, the drill scene, the Brooklyn drill scene, which is now like the new New York identity. You know, 90s you had your boom bat, and the 2000s you had your little flossy era, your flossy jiggy era. 2010s you had the trap influence of thanks to the ASAP mob, and now here in the 20s you have something, which Bobby helped start it, which is the New York drill era. And Rowdy Rebel, he dances on this track effortlessly. It's like he's never left. It feels like, it feels like he never left at all. It feels like he was just back to claim his rightful place within New York rap, New York hip hop. And I loved the first 9 tracks. I love that first album, Rebel, because it doesn't overstay its welcome, like good drill music should. It's only 20 minutes long. You have great features featuring Fabio Foreign and all that stuff. So I'm happy with that. The beats, classic drill beats. Rowdy can rap his ass off. You have French Montana with Master P, which honestly one of French's better performances. I don't know what the hell's gotten into him as of late, but seems like he actually cares about rapping. I don't know for what reason now. Maybe he's starting to understand that people really don't respect him like that as a rapper. But hey, he freaking did his thing with Master P. Well, on the track Master P. And then the final 9 tracks, which was Rowdy, it shows more of the lyricist that is Rowdy Rebel. It shows that Rowdy can actually put together a song. It shows that Rowdy actually has something to say. Where in Rowdy he talks about being in jail and being locked up, and how sometimes the people who he felt like was with him at one point weren't with him, weren't checking up on him when in those past 6 years when he was in prison. This one, of course, it starts off incredibly with New York, featuring, of course, A Boogie with the Hoodie and Jadakiss. And in the intro of the song, they play Jado's little monologue from the versus battle against Dipset last year, where he says, "New York, I'm from New York, the real New York. I'm outside. I don't live in Miami. I don't live in Colorado." That whole monologue that Kiss did before he was spitting New York, his verse on New York, they played that whole bit in the intro. So it felt like a grand epic tale of this is the city that never sleeps, and if you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere. It makes you proud of being from New York. Bashtin, I know you don't know what that's like anymore because you're out on the West Coast, so if you play this record out on the West Side,
you think my proudness for New York is 10 times stronger not being there?
Hell no, because you playing this in LA, they look at you weird.
No, it's music. They understand. You tell them Rowdy's Rebel's life story, they get it. But that's cool. I have to check it out. I did not know he came out with an album. For some reason, my algorithm, it wasn't promoted like that. Yeah, they didn't promote it like that on mine either. But I did some digging for it, and I'm happy with the results, man. I was surprised. I was shocked. But Rowdy, he always had that energy. He was like, I don't want to compare him to like Lloyd Banks, where Bobby was like 50. They were like the faces, and then the actual like lyricist was like Lloyd Banks. Like Rowdy could actually like rap his ass off, and he proved that with that
with the last LP, which was Rowdy. So, listen to Rebel versus Rowdy. It's a great project. It's only 47 minutes long. It doesn't overstay its welcome. This is a great summer album. Definitely check it out. You will get very aggressive listening to this album. You may want to spin a block or two. You may want to pop a trunk on someone. And if you do, listen to Black Seinfeld as well while you do it too. So
interesting. And there's another album that came out. There's a bunch of music that came out, but I still need more time to bump into. Yes. Like Superorganism, Worldwide Pop. I only heard it once, but I liked it so far.
I didn't listen to Lloyd Banks yet either.
Listen to Lloyd Banks?
Not yet.
But we did listen to the Steve Lacy record, Gemini Rights.
Because you are a Gemini, I would like to hear what your thoughts on your rights, Bashtin. That's a Gemini.
First of all, this is a small project.
It is
35 minutes long, and I like it. I like that this is a short project. I'm a fan of Steve Lacy. I've been listening to his music for a while, since that 2017 demo.
He's on the internet?
Because he's from the internet. And when Apollo 21 came out, I was okay. It was an okay album. But comparing this to his previous work, he has an idea of who he is as an artist. And I just think it's much better. It flows better. His themes, the ideas that he's using, even his production is nicely spaced out, because I'm pretty sure he's playing most of these instruments live.
Definitely doing it live.
He's definitely doing it live, and I like it so far. I've only heard it like 3 times, but it's one of those projects that I definitely want to listen with my good speakers, not just my headphones.
Yes.
But so far, I like what he's doing with it. Because sometimes you listen to a project, off the second listen and say, all right, I think I'm good. But yeah, I like it. What's your thoughts so far?
My first impressions was I didn't like the first half of the record, but I like I like the bottom half more, because I thought I didn't really understand what he was going for in the first half. The sounds were a bit unorthodox for me. That's just me. But later on in the project, I love that bottom half a lot more. But continuing to listen to Gemini Rights, I'm starting to now find an enjoyment for the first half. Yeah, that's about it. I like the fact that he's playing with different sounds. I think it's interesting, Bashtin, that he has the cover the way he does.
What do you see from it? The reflectiveness? The
reflectiveness, the evilness that, comes with being a Gemini, because, he has 2 faces and all that stuff. So I think Gemini Rights is a reflection on Gemini things. And so like the first half was like, it was sour, you know what I'm saying? And then the bottom half was sweet, sort of like a Sour Patch, because that's how y'all be sometimes. Y'all are Sour Patches. So yeah, I think Steve Lacy intentionally is trying to challenge us into liking it, into liking this album like a Sour Patch. This is the Sour Patches of albums.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. There's another album before we end the show.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you heard it. Hip Hop 50 Volume 1 with DJ Premier.
Wait, what?
Okay, so DJ Premier dropped this 14-minute EP, and it's his beats. I'm gonna just list off different rappers that he worked with in this small project.
Oh shoot!
Joy Badass, Remy Ma, Rhapsody, Nas, Run the Jewels, Slick Rick, and Lil Wayne. And I thought he did an excellent job knowing which beat to work with these certain rappers. Of course, I could say my favorite song out of all of them is the last track with Slick Rick and Lil Wayne.
Really?
Yeah, Lil Wayne, he killed it. He did an amazing job. Slick Rick did exactly what he needs to do on these type of tracks. He still has the best voice of hip hop. I think everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. But I thought they killed it. I thought this was a very fun. I wish it was longer, but I think I see what he's doing. He's slowly pushing out these tracks. These are well done, well crafted. The beats to work with that particular artist on the track, and then dropping it as the piece. These are all very short songs, less than 3 minutes and 30 seconds, but they get to the point. So, if you like that old hip hop, want to listen to DJ Premier, I definitely recommend checking out. It's a very small project. This is volume 1, so he probably has a lot more coming up, but this was pretty cool. It was a very cool listen.
Okay, I really have to listen to the Slick Rick Lil Wayne record because you said this is the best one. Well, that's your favorite, so I'm intrigued.
I thought the Remy Ma and Rhapsody track was cool. I thought Remy Ma's verse was a little bit too flashy. But I guess I understood what she was going for.
So this was conceited Remy Ma.
Yeah, it was very, very conceited. It was cool. Like, I understood what she was going for. It's like, once you hit the song like the third time, like, you get what she was going for. Nas did his thing. I still think maybe I'm so attached with Nas and Hit Boy as being, like, really good. It's hard to hit.
Yeah. Listen
to him on other beats. And Run the Jewels and Joy Badass did their thing, too. But, like I said, the last track, The Root of All, 10 out of 10.
All right, man. Well, is there anything else we got to say before we sign out?
We're good to go.
All right, man. Well, thanks, everyone, for tuning in to Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing. Once again, if you want to leave us a message about today's show, if you want to ask us a question, if you want to drop some music, please go to blackseinfeldny@gmail.com. Until then, we'll see you all next week. It's going to be the end of July. Next episode, gonna be into August is coming in 2 weeks, man. This is disgusting. All right, everyone, we're gonna go out to. What am I going out to? My bad. Let me look real quick, because I had to switch. I had to do something with the whole computer and the blah 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 blah. Because BAI is blah 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 blah. Okay, we're going out to the internet with Stay the Night. See y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.